You're listening to Heart to Hearts with Erika M, where midlife isn't a crisis, it's a calling. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and oh so real. Let's talk about it, shall we? Now here's your host, Erika M.
Welcome back to Hearts with me, Erika M. My podcast where we sort of chill and we have conversation. You go grab your drink. This is your cue. Be it coffee, Earl Grey tea with a small hint of lavender honey, which is my jam, or a glass of wine or a cognac and a cigar or your vape and your whatever. I'm not going to say it. Get comfortable. Get on your silk pajamas. Get naked. Do whatever you got to do. But today, tonight, or whatever it is for you, I'm going to be peeling back the next layer of the narcissistic mask. You heard me. I know it's like the household name, right? Or label, I should say, in the cupboard. He's a narcissist. He's a narcissist. And he's a narcissist. Kind of like the Oprah, you get a book and you get a book. No, it's not like that. Because narcissism, there are variations of it. And I'm going to break it down for you the best way that I can, in the way that I know how, because of my own experiences and how I grew up with a narcissistic family and abusive narcissistic mother all my life. And that I'm even still battling the narcissism that plagues me in my life or has plagued me by means of just extension and having to deal with my siblings in an inheritance war. So that being said, go get your drink, get comfortable, and I will too. Have you thought about why narcissists mess with our minds so much? I'm going to tell you. It's because your mind is Satan's number one target. If he can get in your head, he can affect and infect you and every other area of your life. And he probably does and has and is. I don't know who you are, so I'm going to just do them all. And he starts by using the people closest to you. What does that mean? Now, how do I say this? Let me elevate the word narcissist, okay? Just by adding in what I think is very important to establish the fact that narcissist personality disorder can be a variation of things. It can look like traits. It can look like I can never say it, psychopathy. I always say psychopath and then I want to say psychopathy, but here we go. And it can be malignant narcissism. It can be it's a plethora of things. So I'm going to try and unpack it, but mostly I want to get down to the part that nobody really reflects on a whole lot. People just use this loose term as he's a narcissist, he's a narcissist, he's a narcissist. And yet not everyone can be narcissist. And yes, I do truly believe we all share some narcissistic traits. Some of us, most of us, I should say. But that doesn't mean we're psychopaths or malignant narcissists. Not all of us operate on these evil tendencies. And there's also, by the way, what I'm going to unpack right now, and I'm going to dive deep into it because it's important, is the demonic aspects of narcissism. So if you're like me, and you've been left questioning your reality more than once, and by people you thought you loved or could trust, or that people were on your side and in your corner, only to feel, confused and abandoned and left gaslit, but you didn't know that you were gaslit or that even that had been going on. And you're left wondering how someone could seem so charming, then turn so cold. And then, of course, all the other things that follow, like, why are you being so mean to me? And then turning around and giving me a gift. And then it just got so confusing. These are real things for me. So, like I mentioned, this is a soul deep dive into 13 demonic traits that narcissists share. There aren't just personality quirks. These are psychological weapons, and some of them subtle and others absolutely devastating. Narcissism is a deeply infectious personality problem that can affect and infect every area of your life. I know because it's happened to me. I'm pretty sure it's happened to you. That's why you're here. Anyway, you know that then there's actually some truth to the fact that they may feel demonic presence when you're involved or in a situation where you feel like maybe this person is being driven by something far darker than you could ever even imagine. And then you think you're crazy for thinking it, but then their eyes get black and you feel this feeling that washes over you that's not pleasant. And I've had so many different experiences with so many different types, from my brother to my mother to actually even my son, whom was the last time I saw him, and he was in a dark place 6 years ago. And now, I will pull forward a whole nother story in another episode about that, but I've seen it, and it's not a pretty sight, and it's scary. It's actually, if you've been in the presence of demonic narcissism, you know that there's a huge difference between that and someone who's just got narcissistic traits, like, say, J-Lo. Do you know what I'm saying? And then who knows, because J-Lo was also affiliated with whom else? P. Diddy. And that's a whole demonic underworld that I don't even want to tap into right now. But I'm going to tap into this one because it's all kind of correlated, if you know what I'm saying. You see, a narcissist is someone who has yielded to the demonic spirits that are driving their destructive behavior. And they most of the time don't even know it, and some absolutely do. And these spirits tempt the narcissist with a false sense of hope, strength, and control. Yeah, you heard me, control. And because the narcissist has such a deep sense of shame, because they do, that they desperately try to avoid and cover up all the time with the many masks that they wear and portray, they actually become easy targets for wicked spirits to have their way with them. And that's the demonic goal. It's to not only destroy the life of those that they infect, but also the lives of those that are connected to the narcissist and people. It's sad, and it's so absolutely wonderfully true, not in a good way. It's just, if you know, and it's scary as hell. I mean, it's demonic in a way where it couldn't otherwise get to you. You know what I mean? It's easy prey for the demons, if you will. Narcissists now become the Trojan, if you will, the Trojan horse. And their goal is to make you feel like you're going crazy and to get you consumed in a narcissistic behavior so that you have no time or energy to focus on God or his purpose or your life. Demons will just use narcissists. Number one thing is to jam up you. You're receiving your signal from God, your third eye. And number two, to keep you on an exhausting emotional roller coaster loop. Yeah. Number three, they actually do trap you in a toxic mental spiral. And four, they deceive you into believing that as a person that's spiritual or Christian in my faith, you're somehow responsible for improving the person whose behavior is in the relationship so that you can better arm them. But you can't. And that's the whole mess up thing about it, is you can't really help them. And I don't know that you can redeem them, because I've yet to do it. And I could never do it to my mother. I could never do it to friends or family members. And I say friends because they're not in my life anymore. And they weren't malignant or dangerous or anything like that. But there are family members that I know for a fact have demonic attachment, and I could never help them. Not with my prayer or any kind of other thing, because they weren't open to it. They were possessed, and they still are. So how do we deal with these types in our lives that are in family extension? I know how to clear out the boys and the men and the girls, I'm sure, for the guys, right? And flip and turn those genders as they wish. I don't get into the whole woke thing. So it's equal to all of us. And with that, where does witchcraft come in? Because it's not just limited to, voodoo and black magic, by the way, and or tarot cards, which, by the way, is another episode for me, because I've played with the occult. And I believe that's another portal. And they say, and this is the truth, narcissists dabble in the occult. Now, I'm not a narcissist, but I know I have some narcissistic traits. That's a given. But narcissists are master manipulators. Remember that, okay? Because that is one huge thing that they are. And you won't even know it's happening when they're doing it. So let me get back to something that is very important. I want to get to 13 traits and start from the top, because I want it to be very crystal clear. So like I said, whether you're recovering from narcissistic abuse or you're just trying to understand why certain relationships leave you feeling drained, anxious, or invisible, I want you to know you're not crazy and you're not overreacting. And yes, you are waking up to what a narcissist maybe has done or is doing. So let's get into it, okay? The 13 traits that actually a narcissist, how would I put this, embodies. That's the word I'm looking for. Trait number one is grandiosity. Narcissists don't just think highly of themselves. Let me tell you, they think that they're God. They have this God complex and they're omnipotent. It's like insane. The last situationship I got out of about a year, almost 2 years this August, was with 100% a narcissist that is, in my opinion, demonically, he has to be. He fits every single box, I should say, sadly. But then I was possessed in a way because I was so dark when I was involved with him. I felt so drained, not when I was with him, when I left him. I would be clouded, confused, I felt more strung out, like I was strung out. That's the word. And I fell in love instantly. I did. And I had a whole story behind it. So let me just unpack it really quickly before getting into some of the traits. But as I mentioned, the number one is grandiosity, and it brings me to this person, as it would many people in my life that are now not in my life. And this person is not in my life. And I thank God for it because it really broke me and it built me. And I believe it's a big reason as to why I'm as strong as I am now, including all the other things I've gone through. So let me not give him all the credit, but I did the work and I came out of it pretty scathed and pretty hurt. But nonetheless, dealing with this type of person woke me up to the truth about a lot of stuff I couldn't see, a lot of things like my son being a narcissist. And I believe, I don't want to say it, but just not of a good kind. And that's because of the experiences I've had. And I am done pretending that's not what I think. Just like I'm done pretending that the last situationship wasn't what it was, which was a very long, exhausting, narcissistic supply production that I was involved in, wrangled in, knowing full well I shouldn't have done it, but doing it anyway for all the bells and whistles that were going off in my body, both chemistry, visually, and emotionally. I don't know if it's emotional, but it was emotional because it felt that way, right? And I won't stay on this very long, but to give it context, I had a dream in April. It was of 2022, and it was right before my mother died on May 1st of 22. But I met him again because I'd met him before in 2018 on Bumble. Yeah, Bumble Fumble. I had gotten back on there for whatever sick reason. And of course, he swiped, I swiped. I didn't remember him by the face and what have you, because it'd been a minute, right? A few years, 4 or 5 years and what have you. So when we connected again, I immediately knew, oh, no, 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 no. This is that guy. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. I told him politely and told him, I really appreciate this, but this isn't going to happen. Now, this is the same person whom asked me to get up and turn around when we were on FaceTime. It's kind of insulting, but at the same time, it makes me laugh because if only he could see me now. And not that I was bad. I was just on this, I was like a piece of meat on the chopping block, and just kind of like, let's see, turn around. And of course, not bend over, but you know what I mean? You get the idea, okay? So there was a lack of empathy. And that's the second trait that actually he embodied a lot because he had no problem walking away, never calling me, never talking to me until he wanted to again. And then, of course, I would do the same thing most women would do is I erased him and then he'd call. I'm like, who's this? And he's like, it's me. And I'm like, oh my God, who's me? And then all of a sudden it started all over again. So the looping back and forth and the lack of empathy is kind of what dug into me. And that's something I also was groomed as a child. The attention, then take it away, attention, then take it away. And there's deduction on that for the deduction method that men use, plus other methods, by the way, ladies, which I will unpack on another episode. So let's back to it. That trait number 2 is lack of empathy. They don't feel what you feel. It's just not possible. They might simulate compassion, and that's because they've practiced in the mirror. They've observed, they've watched, they stood silent. I've seen people do this, and now it's scary and eerie to look back and think of the family members that I won't name here, just for my own reasons, and go, wow, how freaky is that? And it's right in front of us, but we're gaslit and we don't see it. And if we even have a moment where we get a glimpse and we dare speak on that, there will be hell to pay. So they're not like you and I. They don't feel the same things. Like I mentioned, they simulate the compassion and they observe it so they know how to mirror it. But it's not coming from the heart. It's coming from calculation. Never mistake that. Never. And if you've ever cried in front of them, forget it. And they seemed, let's say, cold or distant or worse, annoyed, that's why. And yeah, you can sum it up to they just don't care, because the only thing a narcissist cares about is themselves. You are just supply. Sorry, it's the truth. Trait number 3 is manipulation. Now, narcissistic, I have to reference that these are natural narcissistic traits. I haven't even gotten to the demonic ones yet, but let me try and hurry this up a little bit so I don't bore you to tears. And I don't think I am, because it's actual information that I would want to know, that I've unpacked. So manipulation is huge. They are master at manipulation. I mean, masters. And they're usually car salesmen or any type of salesman, by the way. Um, Usually lazy. Not a lot of them, but they're moochers, they're users, they're takers. I don't know. I find them to be so self-absorbed that the world revolves around them. So the only thing they look to people for is not just supply, meaning supply as sex, attention, getting what they need met, right? Through people and things that the people have. It's just sick to think about, but that's how they operate. So they find that type of person to be able to easily manipulate. And usually it's the empaths. And because I'm a super empath, not even knowing it till later in life, like I have in the last, I want to say 8 to 10 years, but mostly the last 3 to 5, excuse me. You don't really know until you know. So here I am. So the narcissist likes to manipulate you, but they do it through guilt, by gaslighting your existence, you, in every way they can. And by that, people always go, oh, he gaslit me, or you're gaslighting me, or this is a gaslight situation. I'm like, do you even know what that means? So let me explain, give you an example. I'm standing with my son in the kitchen one day. I don't know what we were discussing, and I don't know how it happened or why. I think we were being silly or funny. And he took a banana and he threw it at the wall, or he said something, I'm sorry, or he did something. And I go, no, you, and I tried to retract and called back on what had happened. And I don't know how it happened, but the banana, he took a banana and it threw it against the wall, and we laughed. But then I said, why are you throwing a banana? Because I didn't. I'm like, yes, you did. You just did that in front of me. He goes, no, I did not. I'm like, back then I didn't know to call that, but that's called gaslighting. It's when something happens, you know it happened. You were there, you saw it, you felt it, you heard it. But then there's someone going, did you really hear that? Did you see that? Really? Are you sure? And starts to trip you up little by little by little. And that is like this little cloud. First it's like gray, then it feels heavier with more like precipitation, until it's a black cloud that you don't even know is hovering over you, but you can feel it. And it's because of the gaslighting, the way the truth is twisted, until you're the one actually apologizing for the things they did or said. And it's just this insidious fight of confusion and trying to stay grounded. And when you're not grounded, or you're vulnerable, like I was when I met this person, when I just mentioned the guy, because my mom had just died, I was a complete disaster. I was vulnerable. I was a mess, but I still knew enough to not get involved with him. And I actually shut it down. But guess what he did? He pursued it. Not in the way that you would think, oh, let's go out on a date and flowered love bombing me. No, but it was attention. And from this person, because of what we had previously gone through, it was kind of a fun game for me too. And because I have some narcissistic upbringing, I knew how to play back. And I knew how and what he was doing, but I didn't think I was actually going to fall the way that I did. But the more and more I engaged, the more and more I found myself relating it to something that I called a twin flame, which I can now say was a demonic attachment. Definitely. Not because he's a bad person, but because I believe he's demonically possessed. That's the truth. And until someone has healed and done the work, a dark night of the soul, these things that have plagued us, because we've all had certain things come through our lives that have plagued us, until we work on it and do the actual work, it's going to stay. And it doesn't get better. I can tell you that by looking at my family and the people around, well, just the people around me sometimes. Not that that's often anymore. And I hope that serves in a way that most people, once they learn these things, can stop being around people like that. And that's why I'm doing this episode. So number 4, entitlement. Boy, haven't we met entitled people? We have plenty of those Karens, and I don't even know, Kens. Are we calling them the guys versions of Karens, Kens? I don't know. But either way, they believe that they deserve special treatment. and that everyone should bow down to them. And don't you know, I don't wait in lines. And don't you know who I am attitude. And they walk around like that. You've seen them, you know them. Just go to Beverly Hills and let me tell you of all the fake plastic people trying to have this persona of something they aren't, never have been, and never will be. And it's so pathetic because it's so obvious between all the heavy makeup and all those fake flashy cars and that they don't even own, much less the stuff that they just try to portray. It just disgusts you, especially if you're authentic and real like myself. I just don't participate in that. And that's not to say I don't fall into like I love supercars and I love fashion and I love looking good and feeling good, but it's another level. I'm not coming from a dark, I'm better than you place. I'm coming from a place of wholeness and love for myself and authenticity and confidence, true confidence, and which is a huge difference between entitlement and believing you're special and that you should have things because of that. I believe I should have things because I've worked for it and I deserve respect. That's not the same. You don't get something without doing anything, not with a narcissist. Like you have to, they believe you should do it regardless if you get something or not. And they're not going to give it to you either way. They'll cut lines, they'll break promises. They don't care. They expect your forgiveness without any apology. Believe me that. Trait number 5 is envy. The ugly envy. It's all over the Bible and how it's one of the ugliest, most demonic things that people can have. And a lot of people have it. A lot of people feel it. It's sad. And this one runs really deep for me because my family has envied me jealousy. Oh my God, from my mother to my brothers. And I know it for a fact because of the way they treated me. My eldest brother, the way he treated me. My second eldest brother, whom I won't name their names, but I will in a different episode when I get into what I get into on that episode. But for now, I know that that envy had a lot to do with the demise of why they enjoyed seeing me suffer so much, because they're both demonically possessed, just like my mother. My whole family has this demonic possession that they are unaware of or aware of, who knows, similar to people like who are living in Utah with 5 wives. They know what's going on. They got sister wives, but they don't really discuss it. Well, the flying monkeys in my family all envied me. And that was because my mother positioned it that way. Because if she had positioned it to love and protect me, that's what would have happened. And they would have grown up knowing how to treat women. None of them are married. None of them have kids. That says a lot, no? None of them really get along up until they needed to because of my inheritance that they stole. Yes, I'm calling it out here publicly. And I will have an episode on that. But before I go even more, so like I mentioned, the envy part, and they resent you because you're happy. They resent you because you're beautiful. They resent you because you're sexy. They resent you because you have a voice and because you still shine and because you won't shrink or die off like some little weed in the plants back at the back garden where they put you. No, in fact, your light is so ugly to them that they would rather spit on you than smile at you. And that's the truth. And some might actually smile in your face when you succeed, but behind your back, boy, they are tearing you down. Or worse, plotting how to take what you have from you. And usually you'll see that with women plotting against other women who want your man or want you to be ugly or fat. And a lot of narcissists, by the way, when I mentioned the demonic traits that these narcissists can have and that I'm going to unpack, these are just the normal narcissistic traits, actually use witchcraft. So we'll unpack that soon. So 6, exploitation. I'm experiencing this and I've experienced it my entire life as well. So how about you? To a narcissist, people are just resources, okay? We're just resources to get what they want. They'll take your time, your ideas, your love, and when they're done, they move on. They will move right along without you with not a problem. They will not look over their shoulder. They do not care. You never were important to begin with. It was all an act. There's no guilt, no remorse, no I'm sorry, please forgive me. No, you might get a begrudging I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, but that's because they want to get what they need from you at that moment. And that happened to me time and time again with the last person I was in the situationship with. I was definitely played along and strung out, and it had everything to do with where I was in my life and being weak. And then as I got more and more and deep, I got more and more trapped. It was like I couldn't believe it was happening to me, to be honest with you, till I got out. And then it was just devastating. Number 7, gaslighting. This is psychological abuse, plain and simple, okay? Like I mentioned, so we won't go all into it again, but they will deny things they said, blame you for their behavior, twist your words until you don't trust your own memory. And it's just basic bottom line, it's just confusion. It's control. I said it earlier. I didn't go into it that much more deep, but I think it's been said. Number 8 is superficial charm. Yep. Just ask my ex-husband. Geez, man, I swear I have met every narcissist and I have fallen into all their traps. And all I was looking for was a protector and love. And lo and behold, God is my protector and I have to love myself because God already loved me, even if the people didn't. Even if those people wanted nothing but to hurt me and have fun from hurting me and still to this day laugh about it. Yeah. So, number 8, the superficial charm. They're magnetic at first, funny, confident, witty, intoxicating. Yeah. But it's all performance based. And of course, the moment they're secure of your loyalty, that mask falls right off. So those are just some of the traits that I have come up with, but there's a few more. Let me just finish it off. So number 9 is the pathological liar. Now, we all know that people lie. We do. I don't care how we spin it. We all have a moment where we're like, yes, no. And then we say it without thinking and, oh, okay, I'll get back to you. But I'm not a liar. But do I do that? Yes, if that makes me a liar. Sure. Sometimes I just kind of brush things off, but I don't lie. I really, really don't. I resent it actually to the point where it's my biggest deal breaker. A liar, a cheater, and a narcissist are the 3 things I will not get involved with on any level, socially, romantically, intellectually, mentally, physically, ever. So the pathological lying is just such a congruent nature to these demonic narcissists or just narcissists in general. And we know them. They're in our families, in our friend circles, they're at work, they're all around. And they lie even when they don't even need to. Lies become their reality in their mind. And if you confront them, they'll deny it, they'll deflect, shift blame, point fingers, and absolutely sometimes rage. And it's scary. The blame shifting is real, and that's trait number 10. So as I keep getting into it, nothing is ever their fault, ever. They'll just blame you for their cheating, their anger, their failures. They will twist absolutely every situation until you're the villain in their story. And I'll give you an example. I don't remember her name, but she's this famous model on OnlyFans, a TikTok, or is it TikTok? No, OnlyFans. She was a model influencer who got involved with the guy whom she abused, basically ended up murdering him by stabbing him right above his heart. But the whole thing, and you can find this, by the way, maybe Google the model OnlyFans who killed her boyfriend, who's in Miami, so that might help. And just watching how she was in her interviews with the police and the absolute sheer audacity of her being so entitled, that's a great word, and the privilege that was just spewing out of her mouth, like she didn't do anything, like he deserved it, and that she didn't mean to do it, and it's his fault anyway. And don't you know, she's the victim. And that's the next episode, the female narcissist that I am going to unpack. Man, I've got a slew of episodes I'm excited to give you guys, but let me stay on track. So that's another one, right? So we've got that. Number 11 is the control and domination. They want power over you. They want emotionally, financially, sexually dominate you in every corner of your life. Not because they love you, but because control makes them feel safe. I remember I would get into an Uber and the guy I was seeing would be so controlling. He'd want me on the phone the entire time. And I'm like, God, can I just take this time to reflect? Maybe put on some, last minute touch-ups to my face, but he had to have me on the phone. And if I didn't pick up his phone right away, it was a big deal. Once I couldn't answer it and he was like, forget it, I'm going to cancel your Uber. I'm like, what is your problem? And I realized then, because I wasn't dumb, that I was dealing with someone very difficult and that was traumatically, well, I didn't really know it at the time, but I knew he was going through trauma and there was a lot of heavy stuff going on. But I do believe to this day that he was perhaps always married and or emotionally committed to someone very long term that he had broken up with while we met again, like we did the first time. And that stuff happened, and there he was, and he didn't expect to feel anything for me. Not to say that he had any feelings or has any at all, because who does that? Narcissists do. And I have been so groomed my whole life that it just became a knee-jerk reaction to just accept it, even though I knew it was going on. So ladies and gentlemen, be mindful. Please don't waste 3 years of your life like I did, because I'm still not 100% completely healed from it. I'm over it, but I'm not healed from it. I'll explain that one day. So the control and domination is that they just want the power. They want the control. Your independence will always threaten them. They will always feel uncomfortable. If you look the other way at a guy, they're going to think you're looking at him, or why did you say hi that long? Why did you smile that way? I mean, I have had the whole gamut done to me. My ex-husband was probably the worst narcissist and con artist you will ever, ever meet. And he has gaslit everyone into thinking he's nothing but a smart South American, charming, handsome man. And by the way, makes great money, has 3 families. He's had me, the second, I won't say the second wife, and now the third wife. So that's another thing, that they don't seem to stay very long with one because they have their harem and their supply. That's how they operate. Usually they die alone, by the way. There is some grace to the end of that. And I'm not trying to be mean. Trait number 12, emotional inconsistency. One moment they're loving, the next they're cruel. This was another dynamic in the last person I dated, as was with many people that I dated. But this one was most recent and the most devastating to me because I cared so much. And because, like I mentioned, I had this dream that I didn't get into it and unpack it all, but I had this dream in April. And that dream led to me thinking this was the person I had in my dream, because I had watched Oprah and Viola was describing how she had been, like, for a long, long time, very single, and was like, God, I would really like to meet my partner. I would really, really like that. And started talking to God and having this conversation about how he should be, because someone had suggested she write it down and then speak it out loud. So she did. Lo and behold, found her dream man, if you will, and is married and all that. So I decided to do it. I had 2 major dreams. By the way, I can prove this because I have the voice memos, and I think I'm going to actually make an episode out of this one day, because it's so, I mentioned in one of my episodes that I'm very clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and I have these channeling abilities, and I get downloads and dreams. So I can sense things and feel things and see things, hear things. So I kind of have them all, and they've developed a lot stronger as I've gotten older. And as I've gotten clearer in clearing the trash, the narcissistic abuse trash out of my life. So their emotional inconsistency, like I mentioned, and like I said, was one moment loving, the next moment cruel, and the hot and cold cycle was just so random, and it's very calculated, everyone. They know what they're doing. It keeps you addicted. It's always chasing the high after their what? Let's say it together. After their approval. Because don't you know, we need their approval. If only he'd said this, and that, I'd feel so much better. But why? And why? What's that about? The breadcrumbing. Like, they just toss a breadcrumb and we're just like, thank you. Thank you so much for giving that to me. Fuck you. Excuse my language. Sorry, but there's no other way to say that. Go kick rocks, man, and take off your shoes while you're at it. Make sure they're big ones. And trait number 13, lack of accountability. You will die before they apologize, because they are a soulless black hole. They don't apologize. They'll deflect and ghost you, blame you, but take responsibility? Hell no. If ever, rarely they do. I have never heard let's say my mother apologize, not once in her life, not once did she ever come to me and say, I'm sorry. Not once did my brothers, not the oldest, not the second oldest, nor has my son. And he stole my car, has stolen my inheritance. All of them have, and they're all going down for it. But guess what? There's this lack of accountability that is so incredibly entitled. It's disgusting. And it's just so flawed. It's meant to piss us off. It's no wonder, like, law and crime exists, because people lose it. I've lost it so many times. I mean, I'm not going to say I haven't. I mean, half of the reason why I could defend myself and did Muay Thai for a whole year straight in the boxing ring and sparring with my sensei was because I could not get the anger out of me. And that was at 40. I am 54 now. I wish so bad that I could get back in that ring, but I'd have to train so hard. And let me not get sidetracked, but that's the thing that this stuff does to you. We internalize it and it has to come out because when the body suffers, when the mind suffers, the body reacts. And yeah, that's just the truth of it. And I can't put it any other way. So are narcissists evil or is this something deeper? Like I mentioned, there's two facets to this, in my opinion. Like your normal kind of crazy narcissists and then the malignant ones, the demonic ones, the ones that are possessed. Those are the scariest ones because what is a malignant narcissist? Well, it's a person who displays traits of narcissistic personality disorder combined with antisocial, paranoid, and sadistic tendencies. Now, this isn't just a toxic person, quote unquote. It's someone who can be emotionally, psychologically, or even physically dangerous. And we see them all the time on YouTube. Just pick a podcast. And the core traits of a malignant narcissist is kind of scary, but I've already gone over them. Here they are. Grandiosity, because they believe they are superior to others, that omnipotence of God complex that they hold or they think they hold. The lack of empathy, aggression, and cruelty. Paranoia, of course, because they believe others are out to get them all the time. And or you're cheating, or you went too far. You didn't tell me where you went. Why didn't you tell me he said hi or she said hello? Were you talking to the Uber driver? That kind of stuff. Then we've got manipulativeness and exploitation because don't you know they like to exploit your pain? Yeah, they don't care. And we already know their manipulativeness is just part of their entire operation, their MOD, if you will. So they enjoy the control. They completely enjoy the domination, and they most enjoy the suffering. And then this type of narcissistic feeds on, I'd say, the pain, which is demonic. And it's not just the power for attention. And sometimes it's just for the pleasure. But they do lie. They do lie compulsively. They will gaslight you. They will isolate their victims. And it's not because they want to keep you all to themselves. It's because they want to weaken you. They want to take everything and anything away from you. And anything that you have attached to you, they want to destroy. And they'll use the smear campaigns to destroy someone's reputation because they have tried to do this to me my entire life and most recently. Yeah, they did. And many piles of people that I had to uncover, discover, and discard. So the final thought on the malignant, and I should just actually add in the psychopathic narcissist. Is it someone who just needs therapy and that has all these horrible things around them? They can intentionally destroy lives, okay? And they often lack the capacity for changes because they don't even believe anything is wrong with them. That's the crazy part. And the best protection from that is distance, people. Educating yourself like you are right now and having absolute boundaries. And not everyone can be saved, but not everyone wants to be. Let's remember that. So let's talk about the other part of this that I didn't get too much into, but I want to, which is the 13, I believe it's the first 13 trait. Let me get to it. Hold on a second. All right, guys, I couldn't find my note on that, but either way, I'll get to it. But I want to just continue where I was with the malignant narcissism. I'm going to just trip on that word until I finish this, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's important. Now, this isn't, like I mentioned, your everyday toxic person. This is someone who continues to gaslight himself by pretending he doesn't know he's doing all this or that he has all these horrible, evil traits, or she, I should say, the person. This is someone who combines the worst traits of narcissistic personality disorder, which I mentioned earlier and spun out, with antisocial behavioral and even sadism. They're not just arrogant or cold. They're calculated, dangerous, and in so many cases enjoy the suffering they cause. I see it every single time in my brothers, my two oldest brothers. They enjoyed. I have a voicemail from my second oldest brother who is laughing, just rejoicing in that they're stealing my inheritance. What an idiot, right? He left me proof. But it's like, oh, and he starts to spew off how I never got anything and that it's for being not good to my mother. And it's like, wait a second, you mean my abuser? I didn't say that. But I'm just saying, it's just, they take such joy out of hurting others. It's like their number one goal is to make others suffer. They get actual gratification from it. I see it every single time. And as a young child and growing up, I didn't really understand it. So I'd fight back. But as I got older and I had dealt with it, I realized it was so sad. It was just one of the saddest things I ever got to witness in being that it finally dawned on me that this was what was going on in my family toward me. When I was casted out and pushed aside and triangulated by my mother with, of course, her flying monkeys, my brothers, and then my son, oh God, if I could take that back, I would never have gone back home after my divorce because it's the reason why I believe my son is the way that he is. And so, you guys, it was one against my mom, my dad, and my dad I love, and I won't include him in this, but he has a lot to do with this because he enabled it. And though he didn't participate in the abuse, he allowed it. And he participated in his very, very stoic, cold, emotionally unavailable way. My dad was present physically, and I loved and adored him, but he was very sarcastic and cynical by nature. But he allowed my mother to do her thing with me because, of course, I fought back, and he knew that, and so he didn't think he had to bother like protecting me. But I had to be that way because no one protected me when I was younger. No one stopped the beatings. No one took the belts out of her hand. Once they took the scissors out of her hands when she was going to cut my hair, but there was a couple times I recall where my oldest brother and my dad peeled her off of me from beating the crap out of me. And that happened a lot, all the time. I'd have bruises all over my legs. But guess what? When I later in life told her, you remember when? She'd be like, I never did that, because they never remember what they did. They never will admit they were doing anything wrong. Just like that banana in the kitchen with my son when he threw it against the wall. And I said, you just threw the banana against the kitchen wall and you're saying you didn't do it. Well, same thing, different story, different outcome. You get the idea. So don't forget that, and don't allow them to make you feel crazy about your reality, because that is one of the things they do to disarm you, to break you down so that they can weaken you to the state that they keep you all to themselves, isolate you from everything and anything and all things good. So I know we talk about narcissism a lot these days, but we don't really talk about the danger that goes behind it. And what produces that is another narcissist, right? Look at my family. And that's a I can never say this, generational curse. If you don't know what that is, it's demonic. It's a demonic attachment that's gone down from family to family to family. And unless someone breaks it, which is what I've done, it continues to the next phase, which is the next generation, which thank God I've stopped it through me. So like I mentioned, and I said, and I'll repeat again, is that they use charm to disarm you. They'll gaslight you until you doubt your own reality, and they'll isolate you from your friends and your family, and they'll turn around and destroy your reputation while playing the victim and laughing about it when they see how they did it. But what makes them truly dangerous is that they don't feel guilt. Not like you and I. They have no empathy. They don't feel that. They don't feel a lot. Like I said, black soul. And you don't want to believe it, but it's true, because sometimes you'll see glimmers of, oh, he was so nice or she was kind. And then you hope that they'll be that way again, and they never are. Remember that. That comes from your own trauma. And that's what I'm here to tell you. You have to be aware of to heal. And then, of course, putting up the boundaries and taking away all this trash from your life. So this is where narcissism starts to blend with psychopathy. You guys, I'm going to trip over some of these words because guess what? I'm just going to do that. We're talking about emotional numbness, cold calculation, no remorse, no, never, no remorse. In fact, they do it again and again and again if they could, and they do. They have a deep desire to dominate, control, and humiliate people. That's just like their motto. That's the devil. And these individuals they're often actually pretty intelligent, and they're polished, admired in public, but in private, they can be so damn cruel and punishing and inhuman. And I know that on the first level. It's an emotional detachment that I've never seen until I've never seen like the level that my mother that was until recently. And I don't want to get into whom, but yeah, there's some definite comparisons in my life to people that I've grown up with, like my ex-husband and my mom, to people that recently were around me. So as I mentioned, I think I said that I wanted to unpack a little bit of the demonic traits and how they're very similar. They're just more drastic and much, much darker. Let me see if I can pack this up and unpack it for you. God, let's see, how do I put this? The, the only goal for the devil is to consume, to take down God's righteous and his children, to turn them into his demonic entities. They attach themselves through sex, portals, like horror movies, music, and of course, people, and of course, sex. So, and now digitally, any portal that you invite or open up in a room, have you ever stepped in a room and go, oh, wow, this doesn't feel right? Same thing. You turn on a show or you do this, and that's not something I feel good about. And then it sort of sticks to you. And even if it's in the background, I used to do stuff like that. At a very early age, I did things I didn't understand that now I do. I had a tremendous amount of empathy that I was chastised for, by the way. Never understood what that was, by the way. No one explained to me that I'm an empath or that I'm sensitive. I was a crybaby. I was this. I was that. I was never beautiful and whole and empathic and that drawn to animals and people. No, that was just not going to be glorified or even acknowledged. It was going to be the worst thing that I could be for them because they hated me. They all hated me, from my brothers to my mother, who was jealous. My ex-boyfriends they were demons. They are the perfect example of demonic narcissists. And that's the only way I can put that, because it's really no other way for me to try and explain. That would be so hard for me right now to sound articulate or even sound like I'm knowing. This is why I'm struggling with this, I think, throughout this, because I'm trying to be tame and not give too much of my own personal perspective, because it's going to turn into a 3-hour episode. And I have like this need to fill in the gaps for you. But there is this thing that I think, like I mentioned, and I keep mentioning, and that's why I'm doing all of this, is to mention the demonic part of the narcissistic personality disorders, not the traits, not the regular narcissist, but the malignant psychopathic narcissist, which is demonic, and how it relates and translates in even the Bible. So I said earlier how they use the people around you that they couldn't otherwise get to, but that they use as easy prey for these demons. So they try to attack your entire life, your existence, everything that is an extension of you, good and or normal. They want it. They want to destroy it. Everything has to be bad. You're always bad. It's never good. And like they said, it's like having this access makes them like the Trojan horse, if you will, that their goal is to make you feel like you're going crazy and to get you consumed. So in the narcissistic behavior, that you have no time or energy to focus on God and his purpose for you in your life. And the demons will use narcissists, number one, to jam up your receiving signal from God. That's what their purpose is. That's the number one goal for them, is to jam up everything that's going on good in your life, the people you have in life. And they come out like a Trojan horse and they kill everything and everyone by means of their process. That's what they're meant to do. And that's demonic. And that's happened to me. And that type of stuff is just, I don't know how I'm still standing from half the things you don't know about and the things I've experienced. When I look back in hindsight, I'm just devastated. And I'm like, I feel sorry for myself in a lot of ways. And the things I've put up with, I've been remembering so many different things, but that is the number one thing. The demons that have this, demonic attachments to them, which are the narcissists, they come up with these demons, attach themselves to vulnerable people that are narcissistic, making them demonic narcissists, and then having them do their will. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I feel like I'm jumbled and that I'm jumbled up and that maybe I'm not making sense, but I'm hoping that someone's following me here. So jamming up your receiving signal from God. And number two would be to keep you on an exhausting emotional roller coaster, because that's what they want. I'm going to make this fast for you guys. Number 3 would be to trap you in a toxic mental spiral. And 4, deceive you into believing that as a, let's say, Christian or spiritualist, you're somehow responsible for everything that's happened to you. And yeah, it's just as I read on and on, the more that I read, it disturbs me. It's just the truth. I'm sorry. And a big part of it is like, not only do the Christian, they want you to believe that you're somehow responsible for everything that's going on, but also for improving that person and that behavior in the relationship. So to better arm you, that's not real. They try to use that as the gaslighting manipulation. Oh, it's because of you that I'm this way, and you should be doing this. And if you did this better, and if you were this, do you get where I'm going with that? It's a sick spiral and loop that you can't get out of. It's meant to be that way. It's meant to gaslight you, to make you crazy. So let's talk about that a little bit, because the number one thing that they use is the spirit of witchcraft. And I know you think that, like I said, witchcraft is limited to voodoo and maybe black magic or tarot or the occult. But you may want to think about that again, because witchcraft behind that is rebellion and manipulation, and narcissists are master manipulators, like I said. And they're known for it all over the cycle, everywhere in psychology. Everyone knows that. So remember that. And also, let me just recite something from the Bible, because I love the way that this actually is in the Bible. And that's why I think spirituality is such a big basis for my grounding. It may not be for a lot of people, but I hope it is. And like it says in Samuel 15:23, for rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Many will even refer to this spirit as the Jezebel spirit of envy. Envy is resentful dissatisfaction, and it exists in a huge way. And narcissists always feel entitled to have what they don't. And Satan is the prince of envy. Didn't you know? Satan is the prince of envy. So you see how this all correlates and how it all comes back to everything I've already discussed? Everything. And envy is, in my opinion, the head of the demon, if you will. I know there's a body and there's several sub demons, but that are operating here, and of course among us. And of course, there's other ones. We could split hairs all day long, but the demonic narcissists will murder, and they will plot revenge to spite you with anger and strife and hatred. And they use cruelty to devise, and envy is just competition. They don't want you to win. They don't want you to be better. They don't want you to look better. They don't want anything good to happen to you. And they also use the spirit of confusion. And that's, of course, sinister, because it's a weapon that the enemy uses to unleash its attack through mental and emotional distraction and disorientation. It's designed to paralyze you with overwhelm and cause you to question the word of God. And so many do. It works through what? Television, movies, music, people, magazines, literature, the dark web, P. Diddy, who looks harmless at first. Do you see where I'm going? This will cause you to question the word of God and even your own sanity. And the realm that the narcissists love to play is, it takes the focus off of their own diabolical behavior. Anything to take that away from them, right? So that they could do what they have to do. The spirit of condemnation is also, since deflection is the name of the game with the narcissist, it's no wonder that the spirit of condemnation is right here, right front and center. It encourages the hateful accusations designed to find fault on their victims, I should say. And their aim is to create a sense of hopelessness, like you can't go on. And that's why I believe people do commit suicide. I do believe people exit because they don't have the strength to overcome these demonic possessions that have plagued them, that have stripped them of strength, of their perennial gland, of being able to have foresight and hindsight, anything that gives them sort of any sight whatsoever, especially the connection to God and your creator and or your source. And I will say God, because that is the way it is. So they thrive on creating that sense of hopelessness within you through constant criticism and blame shifting. And the control is the other part of it. That's the spirit of control, and controlling people that It's in their best interest, right? In their mind. And this is when they'll use all those mental and emotional tricks to get you to do whatever they want, to do their bidding. Angry, bitter, traumatized people are targets for narcissists. Did you know that? Hence why I think my family was. Um, their emotions can be easily manipulated because they're already in the spirit of a Jezebel spirit, and I don't say that lightly because the Jezebel is all over the Bible and in a lot of scriptures, and it mentions it a lot of time. It's the sixth, and it's the spirit of deception, the lying spirit. The narcissists are addicted to lying. They don't have a reality check. They don't even have a reality. They're word salads, they're word shifting truths. They avoid hollow flattery. They avoid everything that's got anything to do with, they're just liars. Truth isn't something they even understand. I think they expect it and have like this idea of it, but yeah, smart and intelligent beings, and they'll gas you to pieces, but they will definitely inflict the words of lying to you upon every conversation, if not always. They literally only have one ambition, and that's to exaggerate themselves to you, to others, and diminish you and anything else that's in their path. No one's better than them. One of my brothers, I'll just won't name again, is probably has the most inflated ego. I couldn't stand him my whole life. And it was because the ego was just out of control, just like my mother. And as a child, I remember hating my brother and going, God, get over yourself. How do you even, is this real? Do you really think that way, that you're that good? It kind of reminds me of the last guy I dated. It's like the things that he would say so flippantly in the beginning, in the middle, I just kind of was like, ew, that was cringe. And I would just, because so much time would pass in between these arguments, a month, 3 weeks, it would always be 3 weeks. Then he'd resurface and it would be sweet. And it just would just be this recycling of stuff. And of course, I was involved doing my same thing somehow. I just got caught up, and that's what happens. And the spirit of deception is the next one, because that's the door to the other evil spirits, like religious bondages, superstitions, false prophecies, idolatry, tarot, occult, all of that. The religious bondages, superstitions, and false prophecies, accusations, gossip, slander, false teachings, and of course, confusion. The narcissist is the bullhorn for Satan's lies, but it's not something that I ever can really. There's so many experiences I've had that I can tell you right now. It changes the way you look at things, because when you're aware now, you can't unsee it. When you hear it, you can't unhear it. So hopefully when you hear all this, it makes you think about what's going on around you and within you, and maybe it's time to clean up. These 13 traits aren't just warning signs, everyone. They're reminders that your peace is worth protecting. And if this resonated with you, share this episode with someone. Leave a review for me. And come back next week, where I'm going to dive into boundaries that protect your soul, uncover masks, kick people in the butt, discover, uncover, discard, and talk about it. So I hope you've enjoyed your drink. And though I didn't unpack every detail because this is already getting long and I don't want to bore you, I don't want to be that podcaster, I hope this made some kind of sense. I will have probably a part 2, because I'm going to listen to this. And then guess what, guys? I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe I'll toss it. Who knows? But these traits that I've mentioned you aren't warning signs. They're reminders that your peace is worth protecting and saving. Find your spiritual ground. Get in touch with your soul. Disarm those that are around you that are plaguing you by all of this that I've mentioned. And if they are, let's say, malignant narcissists, run for the hills and clean up everything around you. Protect yours, because they will strip you of everything and do it with a smile and laughing while they pretty much see you as ashes on the floor. I kid you not. If it wasn't for my absolute strength and my trust and faith in God, I wouldn't be here today. I know that for a fact, that in the last few years especially, that I've woken up, how spiritual warfare has taken a toll over my finances, my home, my possessions, my family, my friendships, my relationships, my career. And I got to tell you, this is not a joke. Spiritual warfare, malignant narcissists are demonic entities that are here to destroy and attach themselves so that they could do the devil's will. Make no mistake about it. There is a spiritual war going on. So arm yourselves with knowledge and educate yourselves. Please stay grounded. Find your floor. If you haven't gotten grounded, go take off your shoes, get in the sand, go walk on the grass. I don't care, but ground yourself and stay clear-eyed and stay in your power because that is where God lives. I love you. Please take care of yourself. And I hope this made sense. Remember, you're worth it. I just sent you a kiss if you can get one.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Heart to Hearts with Erika M. If today hit a nerve, stirred a truth, or sparked a comeback, make sure to subscribe, share, and come back next Sunday when Erika talks about whatever she wants. Midlife isn't the end. It's where the story gets good and the middle gets rewritten. Your way.